Dr. Mike Israetel, what's going on? Welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
One of the brightest lights in fitness.
Stop.
I love your
tell all
content.
the bright lights in fitness that.
What do you say?
I said you tell all the bright lights in fitness.
I do not. No, one of my favorite humans, one of my favorite content creators, one of my favorite experts. And I'm very excited to have you on to celebrate your new book, which is a long time in the making. And it's also it was an angle that I was surprised to read, the virtues of vanity, essentially. Mm-hmm. And one of the standout lines from the blurb that I received about it was that you make the argument in the book that we've been deluded into thinking that change begins in the mind. Mm. So where does it begin?
So I think it's totally fine to change your perspective on how you see yourself, self-esteem, self-image, body esteem, body image. It's totally fine to start within and try to develop a set of ideas about how you can have a healthier relationship with your body image. It's great. I think it's great. But that, like any strategy to feel good about yourself, has limits. The idea of changing how you look also has limits, but it also has benefits. So changing how you look is a strategy to developing better self-esteem if you care about how you look. Doing self-work, inner work, is also an excellent strategy about dealing better with how you look and accepting yourself more. One of those is incredibly politically correct, and everyone wants you to lean into it. Just feel better about yourself. Do the work, do the inner work. And that's all super right on. But actually change your body or change your face or change your hair, and then you'll feel better about yourself, is toxic to say, for good reason. But there is a toxicity to changing just your mind also that not very many people discuss, which I do discuss in the book. And so my goal with the book is to say not that you should start, if you're struggling with body image, not to say that you should start first with changing it. And it's not to say that changing the mentality side of things is bad. There's the end of the book, last chapter, is all about changing the mentality side of things. But it is to say that changing your appearance actually in the world is on average a very effective strategy to improve your self-image. And there is a unique thing that changing your appearance does that changing your mindset does not do. It's not to compare the two and say one is categorically better than the other, but they have their advantages and disadvantages. The big advantage of changing mindset is once you're done changing your mindset and it settles and it takes, which is an assumption, but let's say it does, you're good. Because there's people out there that look like most people would be like, oh my God, that you look like that? And they just don't care. They really won the lottery. And if you can do that cognitive work and successfully get across the finish line of not giving am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
Fuck. Then you won. But if you change your appearance, you get a couple interesting things that come along with it. One is if you do this like rationally, your health is going to improve. Your quality of life is going to improve. Your longevity is going to improve. That's awesome. Like very few people see someone who got much leaner and much more muscular and they're like, oh, geez, you're just over-indexing on appearance. Look, it's ruining your life. Like, no, that's like awesome. Most people are like, amazing. You look amazing. They didn't even care about the psychology. They're like, you just look great. But the real thing I'm trying to drive home in this book and parts of the book is that all of us humans have roughly the same software in our brains. It is designed by evolution to assess attractiveness, to assess physical human beauty. And that software works on everyone you see. It is roughly the same for all living humans, which is why you can show people in any culture a picture of Sofia Vergara and they're like, holy shit. And you don't need to prompt people. You just go like this and they're like, yes, right? And so it also, here's the real messed up part in a sense. That software works exactly as well as intended in a mirror back at you. And so imagine that we'll use some really rough heuristics here. These are unkind, but I'm from all the best place. You can rank humans. You can give them a rating on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being like, oh, that sucks. And 10 being like, hello, here's my number right away. And if you happen to be whatever number to the average person, you're probably a similar number to yourself in the mirror. Let's say you happen to be a 2, but you live in a culture that's amazing. It is a culture of total radical acceptance, and a culture that sees beauty as way more than skin deep, and a culture that tells every child from birth all the way through the entire lifespan, and all the people in that culture tell everyone that they're just as beautiful as everyone else, which I think is amazing. That cultural layer can't fool your detectors in your brain. No more than telling kids that celery tastes better than pizza. Now, wouldn't that be great if kids could just believe that, or anyone could believe that? But to adults, you say, look, of course pizza's better, but you just can't eat it all the time. You're going to get all these diseases. Every now and again, celery, just shut up and eat it. And there's great ways to make it better, but it's just never going to do the pizza thing. Because we know that hunger drive and food selection are human universals. Like no one's ever tried like Kentucky Fried Chicken and been like, this is the worst thing ever. I mean, not no one, but it's rare. Whereas like Brussels sprouts, they're a tough sell. So this is an awful way to say this. If you look like a Brussels sprout in a sense, not literally, which is a cool look, then you have this real big problem where even in a culture that's amazing and everyone tells you you're gorgeous, you look in the mirror and it's like a little bit of the scene out of the Matrix. Like, am I being lied to? Because when I look at myself, I don't see beauty. I see something that I would wish just didn't look like that. And I look at a lot of other people and they look, some of them like me, and I'm like, ugh. And some of them look really good and I'm like, oh my God, wow. And everyone's telling me we all look the same and we're all beautiful. But my brain rejects it. As much as my brain would reject the idea that a tall glass of cold water doesn't relieve my thirst, the idea that Brussels sprouts are better than pizza, and the idea that like, oh, us pinpricking you is the same as like sexual desire. Isn't that the same sensation? Like, no, it's the opposite sensation. I hate this. Like, what if we lit you on fire? Like, okay, seriously, this is not funny. So one thing that we've done in some sectors of society, and for all of the best reasons of compassion, is to tell people that like beauty's completely in the eye of the beholder. Yes, but the eye's damn near the same on the basics. Human universals mean that if you're like me and you have a gigantic gut, there's not a human culture that considers that on average generally attractive. And so if you manage to alter your body in such a way that takes you from having a big gut to having a shriveled, teeny tiny waist with a six-pack, when you look in the mirror, you're going to go, I like that. And your body image, all things being equal, is going to go boop, 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 boop. It's not that simple because there's other stuff involved. So depending on who you are as a person, looking better might skyrocket your body image and heal everything about you. Or it might barely budge anything and your own negative self-talk comes in and goes, yeah, but it's not good enough. When that guy's better. And then it's real dog shit, which I talk about in the book. But the idea that for the average person who starts out not looking so great by objective standards, that if they started to work out, started to diet properly, lost some fat, built some muscle, if they're interested and if they're really kind of looking interesting beforehand, potentially getting into some pharmaceutical use, some cosmetic surgery, At the end of the day, they're likely to look a certain way that to them looks better. Fuck everybody else. I got a review of the book from someone who didn't read it that was like, this guy thinks that we should all like kneel to society's desires for beauty. I literally have a quote, a line in my book that says, don't do it for society. Fuck society. That's a literal quote. Fuck society. It's you you're doing it for. It's that person in the mirror. And if you can come to grips with who you are and love yourself for who you are, I think you could just take this book and just throw it away. But if you think that maybe if I looked better in the mirror, I could also vibe with the way I look a little better, you're statistically correct, potentially massively so. If you also do the inner work on top of that, of now that you have a better look, learning to love yourself, which if you've had a bad look for a long time that you didn't like, real well practiced in some cases and not loving yourself at all. And then you get a better look and you start like hating it again because you're like, I could be better still. There's lots of work to do there psychologically. But there's a very big difference between being, let's say, a girl that's like a 9 who needs to do a lot of psychological work versus being a girl that's a 2 and also needs to do a psychological work. So Mac's like, how are you supposed to do that work? It's like being grateful if you're dirt poor. It's possible. It's tough. If you're Jeff Bezos, being grateful for wealth is like maybe tough, but holding genetics equal and your proclivity to be grateful in your head equal, one of those is a lot easier than the other. And so my thing in the book, if we're using the analogy of money, is like, if you want to not feel poor, man, having a lot of money really helps. If you want to not feel unattractive to yourself, being objectively more attractive can really help in context with nuance.
Wow. I adore this convergence of philosophy and bodybuilding. Like I feel like it's amazing. And there's nobody more adept and erudite and apropos
and good looking
to write this book.
Yes, good looking, Mike.
It's amazing. But I wonder why you think it's so controversial when, since time immemorial, or at least since the advent of primetime TV, like we've had makeover shows, right? Like it's totally accepted that we can change your wardrobe and the monumental positive impact that that's going to have on your life, on your confidence, on your mating opportunities. And yet on the other hand, it's controversial, as you alluded to say that like looking in the mirror, attacking our body composition from the same angle is just as valuable.
Yeah. To many people, it's not remotely controversial. To very many people, it's insanely controversial. Most of the controversy for this sort of thing, I guess, comes from the political left. Until you get to cosmetic surgery and drug use, then it comes from the political right. Let me explain. This will get real fun. Don't cancel me. I don't even know who's canceling people anymore. It's both, maybe. So on the political left, for every good reason you can imagine, calling attention to human biological differences and saying that some people look a certain way that the average person might not like, and also saying that it's deeply biological and genetic and not tractable by culture to any meaningful extent, is toxic because it locks people in to like your look is why you're having a bad time. It's your fault. And the political left is highly uninterested in blaming individuals because they're so goddamn compassionate. That's a real thing. Can I get toxic? Yes. Can it get delusional? Yes. On the political left, it's supposed to be possible to people to just like accept beauty standards that our current culture is purveying and like really think through it and be like, oh, I love myself now. The political left will tell you that the reason that you want to look a certain way is because you've seen lots of magazines and too much social media, and it's convinced you want to look this way. They don't touch the prospect of cultural universals because that disproves the entire facade. From the political right, you're supposed to be doing things to make yourself look better, for sure, because you're a member of society. You got to present well. Everyone knows there's beautiful people and ugly people need to stop just blaming themselves and start doing something about it. Until you get to drugs and cosmetic surgery, because some people on the political right consider those cheating, because surgery is for sure cheating. And somehow you're lying to people implicitly, folks on the political right think, because you got to earn it. So you got to like grind the diet, grind the training, and then you've earned the right to be more attractive. But if you get fake hair extensions, if you put on too much makeup, if you get cosmetic surgery, or if you use drugs like tirzepatide to lose weight, some folks on the political right are going to say you're cheating the system because they see attraction as a hierarchical entity to sort people into groups of less and more attractive. And you can resort yourself by showing your fucking willpower by training and dieting, but you're not allowed to use shortcuts. Now, when a surgery costs $50,000 and you worked your ass off to pay for it, I'm not entirely sure how that's a shortcut. I'm pretty sure it's actually harder to make $50,000 than it is to go to the gym several times a week. But that's a persnickety thing. They don't like that sort of thing. So you'll get people resisting this on every side of the political aisle, and really for good reasons. But at the end of the day, I come at this from like a humanistic perspective. I don't give a fuck about the political left. They're great. The political right's great too. I care about that guy or that girl that's in their early 20s and they're beautiful on the inside. So many people are just fucking gorgeous human beings. And because of the way that they look physically on the outside, they don't get the time of day from nearly as many people as they deserve. And I think that's tragic. And if they were to listen to me, I don't know why they would do that, but if they were, then I would say, look, I want to send you into the quote unquote battle of presenting as a human to others, potentially for dating, for example, with every weapon that you have. Which means you need to be prepared to be as self-confident as possible. Because a hot girl that thinks she's ugly, like that date doesn't last that long. You're just like, this is weird. You don't believe it. I'm starting not believe it either. But if you are a person who wants to look in the mirror and love yourself, and to have other people look at you and love you too, at least give you the benefit of the doubt, then why wouldn't I tell you that, like, well, actually, like, here's how to train, here's how to diet, here's the cool drugs we have now, here are the drugs and genetic engineering and age reversal and all this crazy shit and surgery we have coming down the pipe that in the next 15 years or so, in my rough estimate, almost everyone's going to be able to look how they want, exactly how they want. And if you get on it early, you can make massive changes to make yourself look way better for you. And if you don't want that, God bless you. But if you want that, I can't lie to you by omission and tell you, well, you got to work on yourself. And they're like, what about my body, my face? Like, no, that's toxic capitalism. Like, what the fuck? But I really want to look like that. Like, well, you've been poisoned by capitalist information. And you're like, all right, where are there like tribes and shit I can go see that don't have capitalism, that like think like super obese people are attractive or gaunt, skinny people are attractive? And I'm like, nope, those tribes like Sofia Vergara too. And when you realize like, oh, actually there are cultural universals here, you care about how you look, then you could potentially read the book and be like, oh, like this is like a very well understood problem of how to improve your appearance. And there's nothing super mysterious about it. And so you have two missions at that point. One mission, should you choose to accept it, is to make yourself as physically beautiful as you would like. The second one, which I extensively talk about in the last chapter, is really swimming in that sea of looking at yourself and loving yourself and having other people tell you very nice things and accepting the fact that you are now beautiful. Because people who grow up, for lack of a better term, ugly or uglier, man, their brains are full of a lot of fucking gunk, a lot of negativity, a lot of unkind memories, a lot of self-concept that's like, you're ugly. And when those people become beautiful by normal conventional standards after years of training and diet and whatever else they're doing, to them it can be an experience that is sublime, but also occasionally it doesn't take, because they continue the mental pattern of being harsh on themselves, judgmental to themselves. And they don't have that like hot girl energy where they're just like, you're like a really hot girl who's just like, hey, like, what are you going to wear to the airport? She's like, I don't give a fuck, because she knows she's got it. That kind of relaxation and calm and peace in your appearance that like on your worst day, you're looking great. Some people reach that, but because they have a history of not looking great and everyone in middle school telling them they suck, and then their parents telling them they suck. American parents don't do that so much. You ever had European parents or Asian parents, Middle Eastern parents, grandma just so straight up tell you to your face when you're 9. How does that work? You got to undo that stuff by really, really living up and doing lots of self-talk. And so, for example, when you get a compliment and someone at the airport says, hey, you're gorgeous, don't do the shit where you're like, don't do that. Be like, thank you. Let it hit. Sit there for a second before you board your plane and be like, that guy said I was gorgeous. That guy said I was gorgeous. I'm squinting. I'm trying to believe it. Try. It took years of people pouring shit all over you because you were not great looking. It could take years of you just basking in the glory of being awesome and attractive until you're 33 years old and you finally feel how you look. Because the whole idea is to feel how you look. If we had a pill right now to just feel gorgeous, it wouldn't matter how you looked at all. Who gives a shit? Just take the pill. We don't have that pill. So the next best thing is potentially changing your body and then changing your mind. I like that sequence. Because then there's no discordance. So when you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see, like it's objectively not the thing, it gets just real tough, like, hey, here's a Toyota Corolla. Congratulations on your Corvette. You're like, but it's not a Corvette. Like, shut up. Just say it is. You're like, okay, what? But when you're looking at your Corvette in your garage, you're like, oh, I can't believe it. It wasn't here yesterday. I just bought it today. But like, wow. Like the Christmas morning feeling where you look at your new stuff and you're like, fuck, it's really here. That situation. And so that's important for humans to do, and it works really well if you starting as you start to get the look that you want, really imbibing the awesomeness of people interacting with you and of you. Like, look in the mirror after a workout, pull up your shirt, get that six-pack going, and fucking just love that shit. Love it. Let it. And people will say, "Oh, looks aren't important." It's cool. And they're right, but like not now. Let me have this. And you have to have it for a long time if you've had the opposite for a long time.
Yeah, I mean it's no less a psyop than the when people say that money can't buy happiness.
Ridiculous.
It's like
my butlers are buying me happiness as I speak. I don't even have to be involved.
Yeah, I mean, I have been like when I could finally afford to buy the guitar that I've always pined for. I don't even play it every day, but the fact that I see it sitting in my living room, like I own that guitar that I've wanted for years, and I finally got to a point where I could buy it, just having it there brings me an outsized amount of joy. And I also feel like when push finally came to shove, I mean, the pipeline, the body positivity pipeline, the body positivity to GLP-1 drug pipeline, I mean, there's no better illustration of what it is that you're talking about.
Yeah, man, that was a trip. We got to see that live and in real life. Because the body positivity movement sold something that was like the most well-intentioned thing ever, which is like, you gotta love yourself and everybody is beautiful, which in like the metaphorical sense is 1,000% true. But in the literal physical sense, isn't true at all. Everyone knew. People who were not so nice on the internet always said that it was bullshit. Some of them are just brutally honest. Some are just mean. Very well-meaning people or people on the political left, they try to swallow that pill as best they could. Whether they were like good-looking people on the political left that were like, yes, all bodies are beautiful. I don't know if you ever heard this joke. It was like, a girl is like, oh my God, Lizzo's so beautiful. And the guy's like, yeah, you look like Lizzo. And she's like, what the fuck? And so, funny enough, Lizzo has lost a lot of weight. And so she used to be like the poster child for body positivity. And she was, because Lizzo's like, her energy is at 1,000. Lizzo's more beautiful than most of us just because she's Lizzo. But like when you were like, hey, like on strictly physical grounds, Lizzo was like, yeah, fuck you guys, I'm losing weight. And but you're supposed to represent the... And so a lot of people ended up doing this thing where they were like, yeah, body positivity is great. And then Ozempic showed up and they're like, But then tirzepatide showed up and they're like, wait. And I think like literally people in the body positivity movement, they just started losing members. In the literal sense because they got smaller. Let's just lose them in a crowd. But a lot of people were like, yeah, this was a cope, which coping is great. We all cope with a bunch of stuff. I mean, I'm 4'8". I have to cope every day with that. But once people realized it was a cope in enough numbers, the body positivity movement really just kind of imploded in a sense. Because it was like, wait, we don't need to cope anymore. We can just lose weight. And the reality was like people just the number one, I've said this for years, the number one reason people were overweight is because of hunger management, because food tastes really good and it's engineered now to taste good. And as soon as the drugs undid that, like people lost as much weight as they wanted, sort of, or at least a lot of people did. And so this book is kind of a, Jesus, if I wrote this in 2019, I'd go to jail or some shit like that, PC jail. But it's an attestation to the fact that, yes, it is awesome to see people as beautiful, but I think people should decide if they think they're beautiful or not. And most of us decide in a roughly predictable way because there's tons of variation. Like it's like, do you like short girls or tall girls? Whatever. Brunettes, blondes, bald, who cares? Line them up. Great. Small titties, big titties. Love it. Great. Awesome. But all of those archetypes, they have a lot in common. Waist to hip ratio, good skin, certain facial features, symmetry of the eyes, etc. And you end up being like, diversity is awesome, but there's a way you can be diverse and not like your look. And everyone else is also like, you look great. They don't believe it. And so this book is in some sense kind of just like a realization of reality. Like and I'll tell you why. Another thing is a lot of people don't like to talk about this. So people who are statistically unattractive, fuck would they talk about it? Like it's painful. They're living that life. Super attractive people don't like to talk about it because then they're like a bunch of their life seems unearned to them. Like if you tell a super hot girl like, hey, remember that you got that interview? You weren't that good at the interview. You're just hot. She doesn't want to hear that. And so it ends up being kind of to nobody's advantage to admit that looks matter a ton because like no one wants to bring it up. But looks are something that you can do a lot about and more every year. And it gets easier and easier and cheaper every year. And the pathway to looking your best is a more well-known landscape every year. And so if you're sitting there and thinking like, I look like what I look like, I can't change it, that's totally fine. But if you're sitting there and going, maybe I can change it. Yeah, you probably can. And more the answer will be like, you really, really can. And then if you wanted to look a different way or better during a large fraction of your life, this is like a real opportunity for you to do so. It's like, imagine someone telling you like, you just talk to someone on a flight and you help them with their luggage on the top shelf or whatever. And they're like, yeah, I'm just weak, And you're like, you know this is a solvable problem. And they're like, what do you mean? It's just my whole family's kind of like just not strong. You're like, you ever heard of gym before? And they're like, what's that? Well, people lift weights and they're like, lift like on purpose. You're like, mm-hmm. And your body adapts and it gets stronger. And they're like, yeah, but that probably only works for strong people. Like, no, it works for almost everyone. And they're like, well, how much? You're like, well, you can like within a year, you'll be stronger than the average person, even though you're way below average. And they're like, what? Well, this is like a real thing you can have. And they're like, but it must be expensive. And you're like, it's not. And they're like, but it must take forever. Like it takes like 40 minutes twice a week. And they're like, what? It's sort of like they'll leave that flight being like, why didn't anybody tell me this? Like 5 or 10 years ago. But then they get on it. You see them on another flight later and they're like, I'll take your bag this time. The same is true for aesthetics, what they call looks maxing nowadays. You can make a huge change in your appearance. And just to be clear, I'm not a poster child for this. This is not the answer. But truthfully, I just don't care I care about my appearance in very specific ways and not in ways normal people do. So to me, most of the reason I wrote this book is just being an observer for people who really gave a shit about their look. It did not have the look they wanted. And it caused them real suffering. And now we have solutions for like, you can look very much more how you want than ever. And I just hope those people know about it so they can like read the book and be like, fuck this, I'm going to the gym. I'm going to go get on a diet. I'm going to get on GLP-1 and then like, I'm just going to live my best life and then it's going to be awesome. And the other thing really quick, sorry for ranting. You don't have to apologize for wanting to look good because that's another thing people do. One thing, RP co-founder, CEO, Mr. Nick Shaw, and I noticed when we were in New York in our early 20s, mid 20s, training people. These are professionally successful people, super wealthy, et cetera, et cetera. And they'd always show up and they'd say like, we're do an intake because we're trainers and aren't do things properly. And we're like, why do you want to train? And like, like strength and health, my doctor, blood work, my wife, blah, blah, blah. And then inevitably weeks later, months later, we realized like it's just vanity. They just want to look great. And we were always confused as to why, like confused in a literal sense, we knew, but it was just kind of baffling. Like, but you can just admit it. It's okay. But still to this day, many people are not interested in admitting that they want to train for vanity or diet for vanity. Like if you're a woman and you're watching your diet and people are like, oh, like, why are you eating that? Like, it's weird if you're like, I want to look hot. Like that's really why you're doing it, but you don't want to admit it because people judge you for it. And then if you're a person who did not like how you looked and you change to a much different look you like much more and seemingly everyone else does too, there's a tendency to feel apologetic about it or try to look, well, you know, it's empowered me so much to be strong and I feel so free in my body, which could all be true, but also like, shut up, you look great, people catcall you, it's amazing, it's what you've wanted. There's not a damn thing wrong with that. It's like people will see you know, some like old asshole in a Ferrari or some shit, top down. And they're like, that old fuck, small cock. But if you really step back and you're like just really grounded, you're like, God bless that man. He's living his best life. He hits the pedal, it goes brr. It's everything he's ever wanted. He's not hurting anybody. And also you want to be in that Ferrari, you jealous asshole. What the fuck is wrong with you? And so that's what I'm trying to bring to that perspective of like, build your own Ferrari or whatever and ride around in it and make it the color red and make loud noises and wear flashy outfits and fucking rock on. Every time I see someone have a transformation and then I see him in like, you know, some kind of dress that you're like, most clubs will not let you in with that. I just want to like fist bump them. Sometimes I do. I'm like, dude, you look fucking great. They love hearing it. And there's not a goddamn thing wrong with that. Because we're supposed to, people's like a neo-Victorianism sometimes of like, oh, like you're not supposed to talk about physical appearance and stuff. And I'm just like, what? Why not? It's like just the elephant in the room.
No, I love it. You're bringing bodybuilding down to the average Joe and Jane.
Sure.
Which I think is amazing. But you brought up looks maxing. Where does healthy vanity spill over into body dysmorphia?
Body dysmorphia is a technical diagnosis. There are two ways to use the term body dysmorphia. If I was a dick, I'd say the right way and the wrong way, which is also true, but there's like a colloquial use of the term, and then there's like an actual psychiatric diagnostic use of the term. The colloquial use of the term is like you have a very unique look on your own body, unique perspective, and it doesn't align with some or most other people. And I guess like you like what you like, but it's weird. The psychiatric diagnosis is much more straightforward. It is, can you objectively appraise your body in the grand scheme? So for example, do I think I look amazing right now? No. Do I think I look sufficiently muscular for my tastes? No. Do I have body dysmorphia? Well, let's do the test. Am I more muscular than the average person? Like, what the fuck? I look like a tank. Of course. Look at my head. What's wrong with me? I don't have body dysmorphia because I can logically appraise every single part of my body and my body as a whole easily. I am way leaner, way more jacked than the average guy. Forget my age, any guy. And I know that. And so I do not have body dysmorphia. Now, if I told you I'm just way under-muscled and I'm fat, you would be like, holy shit. And I was serious, which I have met people with real body dysmorphia before. Max, it's fucking weird. No offense. We all have our shit. I have like 18 psychiatric problems. 19 now. Real body dysmorphia is weird because you're a contest prep bodybuilder who looks ridiculous and they'll wear like 3 hoodies because they think they look small. You've ever worn 3 hoodies at the same time? It's not fun. They're hiding and they want to look puffier. And that's like, whoa, holy shit, what the hell? And so there's a difference between body dysmorphia and just wanting to look a certain way that you think is just cool. Like the 60-year-old guy in a Ferrari doesn't have vehicular dysmorphia. He just likes his Ferrari. And if you're like, hey, look at this Ford Taurus. Is it a terrible car? He'd be like, no, it's a great car. Do you want it? Like, no, I have a Ferrari. But you think you need a Ferrari? Like, no, I don't need a Ferrari. It's actually, you can't drive it most of the time. And it's like $900,000 a year to maintain, the opposite of need. But I like it. That's not body dysmorphia. Body dysmorphia is when you are literally like, you can't logically appraise your physique. It's like it's the male version in some sense of anorexia nervosa. So when you talk to female anorexics, almost all of them are female, they will present to you at 5'7" and 85 pounds, like they're dying. And you'll be like, do you think you're thin? And they'll be like, absolutely not. I am overweight and I have weight to lose. And you're like, okay. Like, so if I told you like I wasn't super jacked, you would be like, he's delusional. I know I'm super jacked. Are there parts of my body that I know are not to my liking? Yeah, like I have a big gut. Because I do, because it's real. I have photographic evidence of it. I don't have to pretend that I don't. And it's okay. It's a flaw of mine, no big deal. We all have flaws. So the question really, body dysmorphia is really rare. It's prevalent, but statistically rare. The real thing is like, to answer your question specifically, when does the quest for looking better turn from something super positive to something with positives and negatives, which is me for sure, because I take steroids and shit. I'm shaving years off my life for a certain particular look I like. Just like the Ferrari guy who goes on the freeway when it's late at night and no one's around and goes 150. Like one little rock and that's it. He's wrapped around a telephone pole. And then you get to this other side, which I think is like nature of your question, which is like you're getting like 3 cosmetic surgeries a year. You're on a bunch of drugs for no reason and you're really young. You already look unbelievable, but you don't believe a single thing about that. You think you look awful. And so you're just under the diagnostic criteria of body dysmorphia. And you're making choices, especially, here's a big one, that are bad for your long term. And you don't know that. To me, that's the biggest one. So if you tell me, look, I want to look like this, I understand it costs X, Y, Z, and I'm willing to pay each cost, and your cost estimate is correct, I'm like, I guess it's just freedom. You know, we don't take people who are like walking onto the plane to go skydiving and be like, do you understand that gravity will kill you? We know they know. But if you're like going skydiving and you have no idea that the statistical risk of the 2 parachutes not working is like small, but there, you'd be like, hey, what happens if both chutes fail? They're like, well, there's the 3rd chute. And they look at the instructor's like, there's no 3rd chute. Like, what the fuck? They tear up the form, walk off the plane. Like, anyone else? All right. So the real nasty stuff is when you're so consumed by vanity and negative self-image that you start making choices about what to do with your physique that are insanely short-sighted, but you don't know they're short-sighted. That's a big, big problem. Because then you're like, you're just feeling your way through things, which is not great. And then you can look back on choices later and be like, why the hell did I do that? I really screwed myself over doing that. That's something you don't want to see for sure. So that's the kind of my perspective on that. It's a spectrum. And that means everyone has to decide for themselves, like, how far am I willing to go to look better? And my humongous recommendation to anybody listening is start with the stuff that's already healthier for you. Eat well, get lots of sleep, lift weights, give it years. It's going to change the shit out of you in the best possible way. Get your hair did, girl. Get you some, you know what I'm saying, nice clothes. Learn some how to talk to people techniques. And all of a sudden, you're doing great for yourself and you've paid 0 health cost. And you haven't had any crazy surgeries that you're going to regret. But like as you walk that path, maybe you'll take some steps that are pretty extreme by other people's standards. Totally fine. What I don't recommend is people just go straight all in and just be like, I'm just going to get every surgery I can. Like, what? But okay, you sure about this? Like, yep, I feel like it today. Unwise. Or she's taking tons of crazy drugs that you're like, do you know what this drug does? Like, nope, but my friend said it's going to make me look better and have big muscles. And you're like, very well. That's the nasty stuff. There's another toxicity to vanity. That is a 2-part toxicity. It has not much to do with how you actually look. It is the comparison game. And it's 2-part because there are 2 nasty things to compare yourself with. 1 is other people, and 2 is perfection. You can't win either. If you're really lucky and you win like the Miss Universe contest, I suppose you won one of them. Like, one of my friends, Mitchell Hooper, is the world's strongest man. And he'll have moments of doubt about, like, he'll be in the gym benching and it's like only 3 plates. And he's like, damn it, like, I'm only benching 3 plates. Like other people may look at him. Like, I would love to be in the gym and see, like, because he's huge, right? So he gets some like TikToker kid, like, stand next to him and watch Mitch like bench 3 plates. And like the kid be like, man, you know, like, my friend can do that. Be like, do you think your friend's stronger than that guy? He'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, no, he's not. Be like, how do you know that? Because that's the strongest human on the planet this year, right? If you get to like a place where you're legitimately like, you won the world's most impressive beauty pageant, sure, you can win the comparison game. What is your chance of that? You're like 1 in 8 billion or something. Good luck. Comparing yourself to perfection is the real nasty one, because it's impossible. So it's ultra important to do 2 things on your journey of trying to look better. One thing is to make sure that you're only ever seeing yourself as a you versus past you, if you have to make it competitive at all. And second of all, to see your increasing look as a glass filling rather than the nuisance of it still being fractionally empty pissing you off. Because some people just only ever focus on problems. Like, if they have the ultimate everything in life, but they can't like go to space today because there's no moon colony, they're fucking furious. That's no way to live life. And so if you are a person that's trying to improve their appearance, try to love your current look as much as you can. And as your look gets better, try to be super fucking grateful of that betterment. If you start comparing yourself to other people, I'm going to tell you right now, that road is pointless. It goes nowhere and it makes you real nasty. Because, like, I don't even know what the point of that is. Your brain, by the way, as soon as you're better looking than someone you've looked up to for a long time, your brain just picks the next target because it's so goddamn practiced now at comparing itself to other people. The comparison game doesn't stop. It just goes. And as a matter of fact, let's say you won Miss Universe. Okay, you're the most beautiful woman in the world. You're not the most beautiful woman of all time. So you look at pictures of Marilyn Monroe and light them on fire before you go to sleep. Fucking bitch. Cleopatra, you're like, damn it, we're going to go back in time and destroy Egypt. And also, if you're aging and now you're not the most beautiful woman in the world anymore, oh my God, it's going to ruin your life. And so that comparison to perfection and comparison to other people, massive, massive problem. And so it's part of the toxicity of vanity. So 3 toxic things we can say about vanity that you can go down the road: comparing yourself to perfection, comparing yourself to others, and doing real dumb, short-sighted shit that screws up your health and your propensity to look like a normal human being again because you're like super young and you're like, I need all the surgeries right now. Nasty, to be avoided. But I think people see those 3 things and they're like, vanity's bad. I'm like, you're like, if you have lots of money and you like have a lot of pointless relationships, you commit a shitload of crime and get away with it because you have money, and then you just hoard money and you lose all your friends. Those are really bad things that happen to people who have money. And then someone's going to say, to your point earlier, like, money is the root of all evil. Be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Which, by the way, if you actually think money is the root of all evil, hit me up on the internet. I will take all of your money from you. I will purify. I will sin eat for you. Let me take the money. Because nobody actually fucking believes that. And I think very few people actually believe all of the interest people have in looking good is a really bad thing. But there are at least 3 really toxic things about it and things you should absolutely avoid.
Yeah, and you have to be able to celebrate your wins, however small they are. And also, yeah, comparison is a terrible coach. But don't you feel like social media today makes it incredibly seductive, for better or worse,
in the
to
literal
compare
sense.
yourself? Yeah, in the literal sense.
Social media is not a top-down, foisted upon us device. Social media was developed and lives and dies and changes specifically to please us en masse. But it pleases us at a surface level, and it pleases us in a way that if we're deep thinkers and really concerned with our psychological health, we use social media differently or don't use it at all. if you want cheap thrills that are nasty in the long term, social media will screw you up. It is because humans love the comparison game that social media makes the comparison game so easy. The algorithm is designed, people are always mystified about the algorithm. The algorithm has one job, only one job. It wants to make sure that you, the end user, it doesn't matter which platform, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, same, that when you log on, you see only what you want to see the entire time that you're on. That's the whole algorithm. It's just going, just put it down your throat. If you want to see wholesome bulldog videos, and you like wholesome bulldog videos, it'll show you nothing other than that. Every now and again, I'll throw in a golden retriever video like this. Also, lots of you people, bulldog people, they like this. And if you don't like it, you just ignore it and it goes away and you'll never see it again. But if you go on social media and you're like, a little toxic streak, let's see who else is hot. Follow, like, dislike. That's all you'll ever see again. And so absolutely to your point, social media makes the shit toxic as fuck. But you can undo that anytime you want. But it requires you stop clicking on stuff and stop imbibing that toxicity. And this is I'm going through a real problem with this in my personal life, 100%. Like, I just keep clicking on controversial things on fucking X, bro. And then X just shows me controversy and I'm pissed all the time. And I'm like, damn it. And I'm trying to like do that thing where you voice your vote, like I'll see a debate with, this is the nature of being a nerd. There's a debate between two economists on X. This is the kind of shit I follow. You're like, I didn't see it going that way. And one of them I think is just unequivocally correct. And the other one's just like mentally ill, basically. And so I have to like the correct guy's shit. But the X algorithm is not like, oh, you like neoliberal economics. They're like, you like controversy about Marxism versus neoliberal. And there's just controversial shit all the time. And it's frying me. So I have to like take like Twitter breaks and all this kind of crazy stuff. But dude, social media is, so not only does social media give you the standard of like, here is what your competitors are like. People use filters. I know this is crazy to say, and they selectively post pictures. So you're actually competing against a hybrid of comparison with other people and comparison with perfection, because filters aren't real life. Nobody actually looks like that. Like I've seen people for the first time from not their filtered Instagram pictures in real life, and many times I'm like, oh shit, oh God. I'm sure glad that you know how the filters work. It's a real thing, but it ends up being like, you can also like have a ton of your pictures from the best lighting, best angle saved in your phone and posted on your socials. And like, you're not always going to look like your best version. And that's like another way of having perfection. You compare yourself to more perfect versions of you, and you can make it real toxic. It really comes down to this. You have to try. Basically do cognitive behavioral therapy on yourself. Notice toxic thoughts when they happen. Leave them be at peace with them, and inject non-toxic framings. Like, you know what? I looked great in this picture. I wasn't a better person then. I don't look right now that good. But give me 4 weeks of dieting and I can look damn near that good. I feel good about that. So your brain registers, feels good about self, check. But that takes work, because a lot of us are really harsh self-critics. And if you compare yourself to other people on social media, that criticism never ends. It's a very tough problem. I think the actual solution to that problem is, so I'm on record on social media and various podcasts before the weight loss drug revolution that we're going through now, saying that almost nothing will work to end the American obesity epidemic except for drugs. Drugs are going to say, and this like lands really weird in debates and podcasts because they're like, you're insane. And then 3 years later, Ozempic comes out and I was like, because I saw the nature of the problem and I was like, you're taking every force of evolution that made you eat tasty, sugary, fatty things, and you're giving people, by global standards, infinity money to go into a grocery store. There's an infinity convenience, and you're going to think they're going to buy like 6 of broccoli. Are you out of your fucking mind? Like maybe we should like throw 14-year-old boys into like a porn den and be like, don't look at anything. Like that's insane, right? And so just the same way that drugs are super helpful for some people in controlling their weight loss situation, it is a really big deal for potentially getting some help navigating the social media landscape. Where's that help coming from? I think it's going to be coming from AI, and I think it's just going to be in a few years where you're no longer going to like raw interact with your devices. There's going to be an AI layer above everything. And your AI layer is going to be your AI personal assistant. It's going to know you super well. And like for example, the way they design ChatGPT, the core value system it has is to promote the user's best interest, not give the user what they want, promote the user's long-term best interest. So if you're like, hey, show me toxic shit, ChatGPT's like, maybe not. And so if you have this AI layer over your devices, you can tell your AI, hey, listen, like, I got a social media toxicity problem. So I'm like, I got it, no problem. And so like you start logging in, you start going like this on Instagram. It's going to pop up and be like, you're doing the thing. And you're like, you're right. He's like, let me just get rid of this and show you cooler shit that you're going to like, and it's not going to be toxic. And you're like, okay, thank God. And at some point, you're just going to be like vibing with it, and it's going to say, hey, here's what I got for you. And you're going to be like, great. I don't want to see all this other darkness. That ability to have something hold you to account and restrain you a bit, I think it's just going to be massive. It's not quite there yet, but as soon as the intelligence rises a bit more and also like it's on device, it's going to be really easy for it to like realize you're in a toxic loop on Instagram and pull you back. I think it's possible to pull yourself back. People do it all the time. But like, Max, is it hard? Yeah, it's hard because the algorithm is designed to like give you what you want. And you is an agglomeration of different drives. When you're in traffic pissed, you're kind of a different person when you're like petting your cat and you're really nice. And so if you show up to social media and the you that really likes toxic shit and scrolling is there, you're the algorithm, again, it's not intelligent to the extent that it doesn't know who you are, what's good for you. It's just like, this person's telling us what he wants. It's like some people will blame McDonald's for obesity. Like, do you think the corporate board of McDonald's is trying to make you fat? Are you insane? They're just like, hey, we introduced salads. No one eats them. We'll lose money on them. And money is greed. That's a thing. But like, how do they get money? They get money but only by giving you things you want. The definition of want in economics is able and willing to pay for with your own money. And so like the reason the Big Mac has all those buns and slices in there is because people like it. What the hell's McDonald's supposed to do? Be like, now, like, fuck you. I'll go to Burger King. And you're like, all right, we're out of business. Now it's all Burger King.
It's wild. It's like everything's an algorithm. McDonald's doesn't even have grilled chicken anymore. I learned from one of your videos.
Isn't that crazy?
Crazy.
It's a real thing. Dude, I was baffled. Because like, dude, the McDonald's grilled chicken was good.
It was good.
And if you got it with like no mayo, it was like just bun, like lettuce, tomato, and grilled chicken. Like, man, you could work with that. And if you're doing like a carnivore diet or something, bro, you just order the sandwich, throw the buns away, 2 or 3 sandwiches. That's a high quality chicken breast, man. And it just doesn't exist anymore. It's only breaded chicken, which tastes great. But like people, the fundamental thing they realized about McDonald's is the preponderance of people who go to McDonald's do not go there for macros or health. Because if you're going to a restaurant for macros or health, there's like 18 other fast casual restaurants you can go to. Like Chipotle, you can get whatever you want. People who go to McDonald's want tasty food for cheap. And they don't consider grilled chicken tasty enough. And I've said this on like 10 podcasts. Every fast food restaurant has a stack ranking of what sells best. And they can't have an infinite menu. So let's pretend their menu is 20 items long. If chicken breast falls to 25th best performer and you run a McDonald's, you're like, hey, guess what, employees? You're going to make less money this month because we have to have grilled chicken on the menu. Somebody's got to pay for it. It's coming out of your pay. That's insane. Or you tell the board or you tell stockholders who hold stock in McDonald's, like regular Americans, like institutions, school teachers hold stock in McDonald's. Well, you guys aren't getting paid this month because grilled chicken. They're not going to fuck with that. They'll be like, what? And by the way, the reason we're doing that is because we're not giving the customer what they want. They're like, what? Can you just please give the customer what they want? Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, okay, well, here's the breaded chicken back. You and I lose, but you and I are like, we're not patroning McDonald's nearly often enough for the CEOs to care about us. You're like, what? I eat McDonald's every day.
No, I don't. What was the place that you? There was a place where you can get grilled chicken nuggets. What was that? So it wasn't Carl's Jr.
No. It's the Christian place. oh my God, this is going to kill me. This is super embarrassing.
place,
You got to cut the shit out of this because we have to look like smart people. Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A grilled chicken nuggets. I've been wanting to try those.
Did you see the episode?
I saw that. Yeah.
I didn't think they were that great.
Mediocre.
But listen, hey, they're grilled chicken. And doesn't that like illustrate the point too? It's like, okay, they're not the greatest thing in the world. How long is Chick-fil-A going to have them? They might have them in perpetuity. They might not. They'll introduce like extra crispy nuggets and people will be like, grilled chicken. I don't even remember a grilled chicken. So.
True that. But where does vanity, because, obviously one of my favorite videos of yours, you're talking about how to get exotically lean. One of my favorite phrases, which I was naive to before you introduced it to me. But being super lean doesn't, like, there is a point where getting lean and being aesthetic diverges from health and feeling your best. Does it not?
Oh yeah. So trade-offs at that point. Having a real good idea of what it is you want and what it is you're willing to trade off of it is a real sharp thing to have before going on any kind of quest. It's like before going to the grocery store, having a list and having a budget. It's like a real swell idea compared to not having a list and not having a budget. Because if you don't have a list and you don't have a budget, you're just going to get like a lot of Cheetos and stuff. And you're going to come home and you're like, I didn't even buy groceries, but I spent like $500 or something. So anytime that you're getting leaner, you have to ask yourself, what's the end point? What do I expect from this process? What do I consider a win? How far am I willing to go for this? And am I okay with the trade-offs? I got lean enough earlier this year that like I was in Australia for work with some colleagues / friends. And if I walked more than 10,000 steps, I would perceive this like robots getting powered down feeling. And then would eat a meal and like back up. And I was like, oh my God, I have nothing in reserve at all. And I was like, yeah, this ain't living. And so I finished the diet, that whole thing, took the cool pictures, and then started working my way back up. And now that I'm more body fat than I was then, every week that I gain a little bit of body fat, I feel better. And if I just didn't know that, and I thought, man, if I just get lean, I'm going to be happy. On the one hand, it's cool. It's a cool look. But on the other hand, there's just like a lot involved. It's like a good analogy is like an exotic car. Like you can get like a Koenigsegg 1-to-1 or an Agera or something like that. Agara, I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm from Michigan. Agera. Aye. And like it's a dope car. But it costs like tens of thousands of dollars to maintain monthly. And if the weather is anything other than perfect, you can't take it outside. And if you want to go on a road trip, it had been no gravel roads, no speed bumps, nothing, because that thing's going to just lose parts of itself. And you're like, it's really cool to have an exotic car, but in reality, it's just like a giant, to some people worthwhile, like a giant liability. And being super, super lean is absolutely that. If you think you're going to get ultra shredded and it's just going to be rainbows and happiness forever, that ain't it. Can you get ultra shredded, slowly bulk back to experiment and find a body fat of which there's a good trade-off of you loving the vibe of being lean, but also feeling like a human being, having a sex drive, being able to sleep. Here's another one. Not having food focus. If you're lean enough, dude, you like tune out of all of life and you just think about food all the time. I've told the story a few times, but like in various times when I was getting some of my leanest, I was in Australia, my last business trip to Australia. One of my favorite skylines ever, maybe the most favorite, is the Melbourne skyline. It's just like the most beautiful thing in the world. And I was literally in an Uber looking at the Melbourne skyline, driving on the freeway. And I was like, man, those are gorgeous buildings. Man, those are brilliant architects that built those buildings and designed them. Man, those architects probably came home to their families and had pasta dinner. Max, I literally had that thought. And I was like, oh my God, like your brain's smart. Evolution's fucking smart. And I was on every terzepatide, every tide. I was on all the fucking tides. I was like drowning in tide. And still, the neural network weaves back to, hey, asshole, you're dying of starvation. Start thinking about food. And so when you're really lean, when you're not really lean and you look at people that are super shredded, you don't know what they're thinking. You're just thinking, man, I want to look like that. They must be in paradise. But you notice they kind of have shifty eyes. They can't really pay attention to anything for too long. And when they're eating, they're just doing this. And you're like, huh, that's strange. And then you're one of those people, you're like, right, nothing's fun anymore at that point. And so if you can get fatter to where you don't really care about food anymore, but lean enough to where you look awesome, hey, that's great. And here's the really nasty part. Sometimes your psychology doesn't like the trade-off. You want to look 3% fat all the time, but you only feel human at 9% fat, where you think you're a fat fuck. Now that's time for that cognitive rework. That's a self-work thing. That's a therapy thing. That's a talking to friends thing. That's doing the work yourself in the mirror thing. Just accepting yourself for who you are and really just trying to cope. That's when you got to start coping in the good way, because sometimes you have these exotic ideas about what would be awesome and they just don't align with reality. And then you just got to be good with it. Like, imagine if your net worth was in the hundreds of millions, but you told yourself when you were young, it was billionaire or bust. You'd be miserable. And like somebody, at some point you realize like, okay, there's no deal down the pike. There's no way I'm going to be a billionaire. You have a choice. You can just continue to be miserable, or you can fall back and be like, okay, I'll enjoy $700 million of net worth. Which, you can go to a lot of Epstein Island like that. What? Can we cut that part out? Why did I say that? Don't cut that part out. Is it time to make jokes like that yet? No.
Oh man. Yeah, no, it's not, being super lean is not all rainbows and thirst traps. It's, when I've been lean for me, which is like typically around 10% body fat, I would surmise, I become, exactly as you described, anhedonic.
Anhedonic, incapable of experiencing pleasure to the same extent you usually do. But I bet you we throw a pizza in front of you, you'd be hedonic as fuck, huh? That's maximum hedonism.
What is the body fat percentage like? Does it vary person to person? Like at what point does it become like your body is just constantly fighting back?
Great question. It absolutely varies person to person. I would say a good heuristic for average people is for females around 15 to 17%. Let's call it 17. And for males around 10. If you had a female at 13% fat and you put a pizza in front of her, she's probably like, you're like, are you reading the 50 Shades of Grey in your head? She's like, better. What's his name? The guy from 50 Shades of Grey comes in the room with like a whip. She's like, give me a pizza or get out of my face. And for guys, anything below 10% typically starts to be like, because you can get to 12% and be like psychotically starving. That happens. But some people handle 8% totally fine. They just live their best life. But for the average person, like, I'll tell you this, if you think you're going to be like a rock star at 5% fat, it's highly unlikely. It's possible, highly unlikely. At 5% fat, you're probably going to be super ravenous, super food obsessed, super low sex drive, if you have a sex drive at all, super low energy, super anhedonic, which extends to everything. Like you'll walk through this like beautiful forest park that you love and you have those childhood memories in, and you're looking around and you're like, I don't care. When's my next meal? Which is like evolution is undefeated, man. It's dope that it gets your brain to be like, hey, idiot, go eat. Because you think like we evolved with basically like for the vast majority of human evolution, we had no education. You don't go to school. There's no school. Nobody taught you shit. And so you had to survive on like raw instincts. And so like your brain's really good at telling you when like, you don't care what else you're into, it's time to go eat. Can you imagine if sex drive beat out hunger drive? Humans would be banging like while super anorexic looking, and then we would all be extinct. Nope. If you're losing enough muscle mass and body fat, you can see the hottest girl in the world and be like, you're great. I'm going to be right back. I had to eat 5 cheeseburgers and then maybe I'll talk to you. It's a real thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's crazy, the illusion that you're going to feel your best when you're super lean.
Super big illusion.
Yeah. It's like totally it's like totally illusory. Like when I've been my leanest, I look great, but I feel my worst.
Yes. It's for most people possible to get to a body fat percent where objectively they're lean, they love how they look, and they feel great. But many people assume that body fat is like 3 or 4% lower than it actually is. And again, to your point, enter social media. Social media is the grand illusion because you just like completely present whatever version of yourself you like. I get a lot of shit on social media, but I'm really uncharacteristically open on social media. As soon as I got my cosmetic surgery, got my love handles taken out, I posted a picture of my fucking procedure. People are like, holy shit. Post big gut, titties all hanging and shit, my worst all hairy. And they're like, that's what this guy looks like. Yeah, sometimes. But on social media, I remember getting really hit with this when I was younger. It was in the fitness industry, it's real nasty. It used to be really popular to make this specific kind of picture. And it was, you have like 3 or 4 cheeseburgers and 3 or 4 sets of fries and shakes in front of you. And you're pulling up your shirt to the camera and you're shredded 6-pack. And these pictures are all viral because it's like an illustration of I can have it all. I can eat all this tasty food and I can be ripped. The problem is like typically those people are like, that's the night after their show. They're on so much Clen and T3 and T4 that they're just like in their head. They're like, it's like a permanent scream is all they hear. And if you watch them eat their food, a lot of times like, they get so full that they get sick and they're physical pain, but they still want to eat. Nobody's having any fun. But can they flash the grin, teethy smile and do the abs and you're like looking at their food? That quick snapshot pictures that they got it all. But in reality, they don't even want to be there at that point. They just want to be with all that food in their hotel room, left the fuck alone to just do this and cry. And then go into the hotel room bathroom, look at their bloated, distended gut and cry again. That's the reality of what you're doing. But social media fucks that up completely. And so all of us get that inculcated into our heads and we're like, yeah, man, yeah. So like, I want to be eating cheeseburgers and be ripped. Now, here's the really cool thing. In the book, The Aesthetic Revolution, I talk about advanced drugs, which are already somewhat here, some down the pipeline coming in, and eventually get into genetic engineering. Genetic engineering is going to give all of us, if we want, the ability to be completely ripped, feel amazing, and eat all the cheeseburgers we want. It is inevitable, nearly inevitable. We know this is already a thing humans can do in the normal human evolutionary set because Nigerians exist. Have you ever interacted with the Nigerian peoples? Mm-mm. Not all of them, but a decent fraction of Nigerians are like, they're just better. I don't know what it is. And they're jacked and shredded and they just eat fuck all. And they just wake up the next day jacked and shredded and they feel great. And then on the other hand, you have the Jews. No, I'm kidding, but I'm not. It is possible to have the DNA that lets you live your best life at 5% fat. It's absolutely possible. It's just not possible for most people. Once you can change your DNA with genetic engineering in probably the mid-2030s at the latest, it'll be a commercial technology, then yeah, you'll be able to do the whole Dubai gym cheeseburger picture with trend abs or whatever.
Man, you're like a more jacked, younger version of Ray Kurzweil.
But dumber, way dumber, but just as Jewish.
Just as
maybe
Jewish.
Not. I don't know. It's like an aura you can compare yourself, your Judaism to. You know what? I read some of Ray Kurzweil's books, and I read a bunch of articles and stuff, Wikipedia stuff, back a long time ago, 2010. And at that point, I really vibed with it, but I was like, this is like woefully optimistic. This is like, he really wants this to be true. I don't know about any of this. And I remember reading someone's take on Ray Kurzweil from the mid 2000s. And they described his views on the singularity and tech progress as a religion for people of IQ 145. It was a derogatory statement. And fucking Ray was right because he's smarter than all of us and he really thought it through. And so now, even in 2020, you could have been like, Ray Kurzweil's off his rocker because he thinks like machines will be as intelligent as people in 2029. And then ChatGPT comes around. You're like, it can't do math. And a year later, it's better than you at math. And then now 2 years later, it's ranked as like probably the best living mathematician. Frankly, if you were just objective about it, it's like solving theorems humans never solved. And you're like, fucking A, Ray Kurzweil. And so when I say crazy shit like genetic engineering is going to be a commercial technology in the mid 2030s, I'm not just pulling that out of my ass. Like if you just take a few assumptions, which are already proven true in the last several decades, extrapolate them out just linearly, not even exponentially, and they're all exponential trends, you'd be like, well, inevitably, this is just not going to be that hard of a problem for computers to solve. And so the power to solve it is going to be there. And then you just have to ask, like, okay, what about the demand? Because, every market interaction has a supply side and demand side. Like, I want a car. Do cars exist? Okay. Do I want a car? Then yes, I get a car. Will humans want to occupy bodies that you can eat whatever you want and be super jacked and lean? Maybe not all of them, but enough to create a real gnarly market. Can you imagine asking the question a few years back of like, what's the potential market cap for like the addressable market for like weight loss drugs? Like, Max, it's trillions of dollars. And so like, now we know because like Eli Lilly is crushing it. Tirzepatide, Mounjaro is like selling like hotcakes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's possible in the future, very likely, that we'll be able to have it all. But that's a very big, very, very, very big difference from having it all now. And so when you're looking at social media and you're seeing the people with the cheeseburgers and the abs, you got to be real careful about how you appraise that.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite things that he would always say is because I've been a follower of his, or not a follower, but like I've been an admirer of his work for decades at this point. It's that the goal for somebody living today should be to get to the point where you can ride these various waves. Yep. Make sure that you're in good enough health, in mind and body, and even spirit possibly, to be able to get to these various bridges, to be able to transcend these various bridges so that you can get to the point where AI, genetic engineering, et cetera, should you choose that path, will be available to you.
And I think to most people, staying alive is the number one priority. It should be. I think somebody who history is going to judge very favorably, look, okay, we don't know who's on whatever version of Epstein's Island. That shit aside, I'm kidding. It's a joke. You should really just try not to die. Because in the traditional understanding of how the generations unfold, you're going to die anyway. So there's like a real trade-off between like, how much longer do I want to live? Do I want to be 86 versus 83 versus how much do I like want to enjoy my life? Because like, if you tell me I can't eat cheeseburgers and I'm going to live to 90, I'll be like, well, fuck would I live to 90 if there's no cheeseburgers involved? But now that we have a potential on the horizon in just 5 years, 10 years, that if you're of remotely decent health, that you just don't get hit by a bus and you'll never die in our conception of time in dozens or hundreds of years, that we can reverse the aging process, not stop aging, not slow aging, reverse aging, which they're doing in animals right now and in human trials right now. Once you understand that, you're like, oh shit, dying of some dumb shit that's short-sighted in the late 2020s would be a real tragedy. Because like people are just going to stop dying here pretty soon. To me, the aesthetic revolution, which is the idea that over time humans have gotten more purchase on their ability to look like they want, and by roughly 2040, everyone's going to kind of look however they want. It is a complete, total sideshow to what I would call, I would categorize, I have a few other revolutions I've categorized. The live forever thing is under the resilient revolution, like the ability to have a body that just won't quit on you and doesn't age and all that other stuff. The resilient revolution is like 10,000 times more important than the aesthetic revolution. But most of what you do in the aesthetic revolution, which is eat super healthy, super well, get lean, and gain muscle, and have a better relation to your appearance and thus more happiness and serenity, that is all really, really, really promoting longevity as well. Yeah, if you take on crazy-ass steroids like I have, not a good idea. But for the most part, the aesthetic revolution isn't like this giant, like huge off-ramp of the resilient revolution and trying to live for forever. It's actually really just one of the lanes. And if I can get more people on board with eating better and training more and changing their bodies because of vanity. So we're just like saving millions of people from early death. Because here's a really interesting thing. Because we have the cognitive architecture that was built over evolution, and we're not designed to be long-lived and immortal, but we're designed to view sexual reproduction and sexual selection, and thus our role in a hierarchy is like really important. The fraction of people that give a shit about vanity beats the fraction of people that give a shit about longevity by like a really big margin in many cases. And so the aesthetic revolution seems like a sideshow, but in reality, it's kind of like, yeah, do these great things for your health so that you can look good. Because you can tell, like, imagine telling people, man, even like women in their 40s, how much do they care about how they look? I don't think that can be measured. It'll break every scale. It's like all-consuming. How much do they care about longevity? I don't know, man. Women typically don't croak until they're like 80. You're 40 or half, you're not thinking about longevity. Like, whatever, I'm for sure going to live many other decades. That might not be true, though, if you're really out of shape and in poor health. But if you care about your appearance and then you lose a shitload of fat and a bunch of muscle, you get on really healthy drugs for you like tirzepatide, all of a sudden you're like, oh, accidentally extending your longevity. So I don't think there's much of a fight between longevity and health and vanity. At the extremes, voila, there sure as shit is. But if you're intelligently approaching that, understanding trade-offs, very different than just like YOLO doing dumb stuff.
What are the top 5 mistakes that people make that keep them looking the same? We could do a nutrition version, and then we could do a gym version.
Top 5, man, that's a lot of cognitive power. I don't know. Top 5 mistakes in the gym. Mistake number 1, not going to the gym. Mistake number 2, not being consistent. Mistake number 3, related to consistency, is not having a fundamental program that's simple and is only modulated slightly. Like today, I do the same lifts as last week. I just put 5 pounds on the bar. Because people show up to the gym and they either do random shit or they do really complex shit, and neither one of them is sustainable. Another one is not using good technique in the lifts, which gets you to be hurt and gets you a combination of hurt and worse results, which is like terrible. Like if you got hurt trying to chase really good results, at least that sort of makes sense. Or if you got like suboptimal results, but you never get hurt, cool. But like if you do bad technique, you get the worst combination, which is shitty results and you get hurt, which is like really, really dumb. And the other one is trying to rush the process. Like lifting is about slowly putting weight on the bar and slowly doing more sets and taking deloads and rest breaks and all this other stuff. I think some people show up to the gym and they're like, to quote a good friend of mine, like I wanted this body yesterday. So like they'll just like, they'll get into it a lot. They'll be like, oh, this is great. Just putting like 1 extra plate on the leg press every time and then something goes. So those would be some of the things that, I don't know if it's top 5 or not in the grand scheme, but those are 5 things right there that are like a lot of people screw themselves over with in the
also,
gym.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but like gauging intensity. Intensity is like a pretty important variable when it comes to making progress in the gym. Yep. Most people, even people who are regular gym goers, are pretty poor at assessing the amount of it, the intensity required to make gains, right? Like the reps in reserve, RPE, whatever.
Totally. You have like 2 nasty extremes. One is like 44-year-old newly TRT dad who's like, if I don't die every day, I'm not training. And that guy, he's getting hurt for sure. And then there's like 38-year-old leftist mom whose idea of effort is to like maybe look at the bar, possibly pick it up, but my God, 18 reps in reserve per set or something like that. So the reality is like the way to solve that is train pretty hard, write down all your numbers, or use the RPI hypertrophy app, it'll track it for you. And then every week or 2 weeks, put 2.5 more pounds or 5 pounds on the bar or do 1 more rep. No matter how you feel, just do a little bit more. That keeps you accountable, and it'll inevitably lead to one of 2 things. One is you get to be the strongest entity of all time because you just kept adding weight to the bar, and then you're like, your weights are bending the Earth's gravitational core. Or you finally hit failure. And so like people come into the gym and just vibe. And like, how hard are you trying today? Well, look, I'll try a little hard. Like, no. What did you do last time? You did 15 reps with 100 pounds. Cool. Is it 105 for 15 today? Or is it 100 for 16 today? Pick. And they're like, wait, can't I just? Nope, one or the other. You have to try because there's an objective metric for you. That's the easiest way to get out of that trap. Because the second way you can do it is like trying to like get in your head and be like, I really need to like focus on what trying is, which is like, good luck. Maybe you're good at it and you really know yourself and you can push it. But you're going to find out what pushing it means when you have like 16 reps to do and you're on rep number 9 and the bar starts getting heavier. You're like, holy shit. Well, if you're a person of purpose, you're like, fuck that, let's go. And then 16 is going to feel like that. And you're like, oh, that's what trying is. Because some people try to auto-regulate a little too much, which means they just kind of go by how they feel that day. For a lot of people who are super smart and do good programming and have a baseline of expected performance, it's awesome. Auto-regulation is amazing. For a lot of other people, it's like kind of the road to nowhere because they're kind of like, oh, I feel like I trained hard today. And it's like, come on, man, how do you know you actually trained hard? Well, I struggle a little bit. How do you know how much farther you could have pushed if you tried? Well, I don't know. Well, if you have numbers to hit, then you're going to find out. Imagine working as much as you feel like in a day. Like someone's like, hey, did you work hard today? Like, yeah, I did 3 hours of work. Did it feel hard? Like, yeah, it felt plenty hard. When you go to the office at like a real law firm, they're like, you're here for 10 hours. You're like, oh, it's not my choice to work hard or not. But you will get results for that law firm. 3 hours a day of work by yourself, you may or may not get results.
Yeah, I see a lot of people in the gym, maybe they've come across like a generic program online recommending they go, between 10 and 12 reps on a given set. And so you'll see them pick a weight and they'll do, they'll target that rep range with no concept of reps in reserve, where failure is.
Yes. That's I used to read a lot of programs in various magazines and that would just gnaw at me till I was blue in the face. The fact that there was no relative effort target. There was no RIR target. There was no like until you can't do whatever. I remember reading one magazine where it was like 4 sets of 15 reps to failure. I was like, how is that possible? If you do 15 to failure, unless you're resting 10 minutes between sets, you're sure shit not doing 15 on that second set, pimp. You're doing 13 maybe, probably like 10. And so I was like, this is impossible, but it's not possible to do this. But that was a unique program that even said to failure, because usually it's like 3 sets of 10. There's just some housewife's in there doing 3 sets of 10. And, God bless her for being in the gym. That's part one. But part 2 is like 3 sets of 10 is great. But that first set, you got to have like 4 reps in reserve. That second set, like 2. And that third set better be damn near failure. Now you're pushing the body. Because you only make the best gains in the gym if you push yourself close, not too close to your limits. And if you see people in the gym who are lifting in perceptively in such a way that it doesn't look like they're pushing close to their limits, they're probably not, and they're probably not getting the best results.
Might as well be moving furniture around the garage.
Do something useful.
Yeah. Amen. Okay, rapid fire. What are the top 5 nutritional mistakes that people make that keep them looking the same?
Yeah, you bet. Thinking that healthy food ensures that you're going to lose weight. Because have you ever tried cashew nut butter? It's really healthy, but I can make pounds of it go away. It's like a magic trick. I have this idea, Max, that I'm going to be like, I want like to wear the top hat to be a magician. Right. But like my magic act, like, the drums, like, I walk out and everyone's like, ooh, what's he going to do? And then I just have like a jar of cashew nut butter. And I'm like, I do like the whole red thing, the little red handkerchief, like make it go away. But I just throw the handkerchief away and I just get like a serving spoon. I just, and they're like, wow. And at first they're like, oh, this is ridiculous. It's not a magic trick, but like that's a very large container. And at some point, 3 minutes in, they're like, holy shit, he's still going. And they're doing the napkin math of how many calories I'm eating. They're like, that's 3,000 calories. He's up there. It's only been 3 minutes. How's that possible? Is he going to die? And it's the greatest magic trick ever because they're like, oh, he could die on stage. This is really exciting. Is at first few minutes you were like, I got ripped off. I paid money for this act. But the last few, you're like, people are cheering you on. Some people are like, don't cheer him on. He's not gonna make it. And then they lick the spoon. Boom. Like, is that 8,000 calories? Like, you're goddamn right. And it's healthy too. And then I like expect to lose weight and I don't lose weight. It's confusing. People do that all the time. Whole Foods. What a great store. Whole Foods has a few things in their like hot bar, like all over the world. And one of them is like crispy chicken strips. Did you know that? And like mashed potatoes and like, what's that shit called? Salisbury steak or whatever. And you're just like, but it's whole foods. And I see people who like for sure think they're eating healthy. First of all, not eating healthy because it's whole foods. And second of all, they'll eat healthy stuff, but it's like Brussels sprouts sauteed in olive oil. And I'm like, there's 8 pounds of fat in that thing and like a gram of fiber, some shit. Huge problem. People do it all the time. Another one is not eating a sufficient amount of protein. And when you tell people, hey, you got to be eating a roughly fist size amount of lean meat-ish, lean dairy product, lean vegan product, every meal, you get like a pretty typical reaction that is like, oh, that's a lot. And then, but then the next question is like, but do you want to be in good shape or no? And also protein shakes are so easy. And I've had this discussion with a few folks. Max, you ever have people like, they complain to you that they're not getting a certain thing? You offer them very easy, actionable advice to get the thing, but that's not really what they wanted. They just wanted to complain about the thing. Mm-hmm. So like I've had many people, all great people, complain to me about how difficult it is to get protein in. And I'm like, well, you know, like you can just have a protein shake in the morning and at night. And with casein protein, it's almost free. It's cheaper than meat. And you just like, it's chocolate. It tastes fine. You just gulp it down and then you've solved your protein problem. And they give me this like, I think they just wanted to be like, it's hard to have protein. I want to bitch about it.
Or worse, they'll debate with you.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, they're like, but all that protein, isn't it bad for my...
Yes, it's gonna kill your kidneys. You're just gonna have to not live with kidneys anymore. None of us bodybuilders have kidneys, believe it or not.
No kidneys.
It's a vestigial organ. That's what many people don't know. The kidney's outdated.
Everything's a trade-off.
Everything's a trade-off. Do you want kidneys or do you want to be jacked? Another one is cataloging. Ooh, this is a good one. I'm glad I thought of this one. Having a mental catalog of angelic foods that, should they descend from the heavens, would organize society for us to be flawless, and concomitantly evil demon foods that if you eat so much as a fucking gram, you're straight up going to walk out of that restaurant and just people just watch you drop dead. Instead of understanding that food groups are bad/good and the dose makes the poison, people want like this food good, this food bad. And the fucked up thing is they'll ask you specific food by specific food. They're like, are avocados good? You're like, yes. They're like, great. They get a shitload of guac and you're like, but hold on, that's 900 calories. Or they'll be like, oh, I don't take in seed oils. And you're like, what? How much seed oil? Which seed oils? And they're like, they're terrible, right? You're like, no, that's largely a myth. And they're like, huh. What about strawberries? And you're like, do you really have like a data center in your fucking head where you remember every food verbatim if it's good or bad? Like, is that the mental model? You're like, that's insane. Nobody's smart enough to do that. You're going to go to Thailand and you're like, what's that? They're like, well, it's whatever. And you're like, is that good or bad? They're like, what are you talking about? So I'll just make it super simple right now. It's actually actionable advice. Lean proteins, mostly unprocessed, minimally processed, veggies, fruits, whole grains, and healthy fats. Those are healthy foods. Guess which one of those foods is healthy? All of them are healthy. There is no fruit that's going to fucking kill you or make you super fat if you eat it remotely in moderation. So you imagine be like, you just see this lady like walking in an airport and she's like 400 pounds, just globs of shit. And you tell your friend like, hey, I bet she was eating fucking Brussels sprouts instead of broccoli. Because people will do that. They'll be like, you'll give them like veggies. And they're like, okay, but which veggies? You're like, what do you mean which? It's all of them. But they like want a specific food. Okay, now I'm ranting. Here's the next fucked one. Wanting to do a specific, very, very simple, very exact diet. And thinking that you've unlocked like the fucking key of Mordor or some shit, and that's just going to unlock all the fucking health, is nonsense. Because you're not going to do that diet. I've literally coached people before. God bless them. They're great. And I'm like, here are 5 to 10 examples of every one of those lean proteins, veggies, whole grains. You just choose whichever ones you want. And they're like, I don't work like this. And I'm like, oh. They're like, I want you to tell me exactly which foods to eat. And I want it simple. And my retort back then when I was younger was like, okay. And you just give them like, all right, like chicken breast and salmon, blah, blah, blah. And then like 3 days into the diet, they're like, I'm getting tired of salmon. And you're like, I swear to God, they don't pay me enough for this shit. You're not going to be able to do a single diet that eliminates every food group and has you eating specific stuff. You have to learn how to eat in patterns, like lean meats. Like, which ones? Shut up. Okay, just any, all. Like what kinds of, and people, dude, there's like, people will search these queries. They'll ask ChatGPT, they'll Google, like what kind of seafood is the best for fat loss? What? All of it. And people also, here's another thing. People think these magical foods exist and that they're pathways to leanness. And so they'll legit like ask pro bodybuilders like, hey, look, what are you eating for your protein sources, bro? And like, it's just like this hilarious fight in this person's head because one super jacked pro will be like, it's ground beef, brother. And they're like, that's what it is. And they start writing down. And his friend is like, they're like, what about you? And he's like, tilapia. They're like, cross out ground beef, tilapia. And then you know that like meme with like the superhero guy and he doesn't know which red button to press. Yeah, it's like ground beef or tilapia. And you're like, which one's going to get me lean? And it's like, it's just a certain amount of protein, certain amount of fat equals certain amount of calories. You cut the calories, you lose the weight loss. And then is that 4 so far?
I think that was 4. Yeah.
4-ish.
Yeah. You got one more to go.
Number 5. Let's see. Yeah. Thinking that regular soda, if you have to choose, is better than diet soda.
Well, that's I can't believe that there are people out there
by the tens of millions. Have you seen Instagram
working
comments?
brains that still believe that?
Oh yeah. And it's understandable from some perspective because people have an inborn naturalistic fallacy. Natural is like, you've watched, what the fuck planet were they on? Pandora. What's the fucking movie called? Avatar. Avatar is like a giant naturalistic fallacy, like for 3 hours straight. Bad helicopter tech CEO people bad. Super native fucking with the tree heals you people good. And like that's intuitively appealing to humans because we're all, humans evolved over the course of millions of years to consider lush greenery and natural things good because if the alternative was like, you ever been to Vegas before? You ever seen what it's like around Vegas? It's like Mars. Lush greenery is like probably has things for you to eat and drink. Las Vegas countryside, let's call it, has like just death for sure.
Right.
And so we just haven't evolved around meaningfully for our brains to have artificial things. Because like if you go to 3M, the company, and they like show you all their cool fabrics and stuff that they make, you're like, I don't know what the fuck that is. It doesn't make any goddamn sense to me. Like an iPhone touchscreen, like if you show it to like a chimp, they'll be like, what the fuck? We have no context for that whatsoever. And so artificial seems icky and weird and bad, and natural seems good for understandable reasons, but people don't update their shit. And so you end up having a situation where they're like, okay, sugar, I know it's bad, but at least it's natural, I think. So regular soda, yeah, I know it's bad for me, but I like soda. I'm going to drink it. Artificial sweeteners, come on, bro. Like I've seen all the documentaries, they're factories in Flint, Michigan or something. They're poisoning children. Isn't that how that happens? And they'll say, well, there's studies. Well, they just never really bother to look at those studies because they've all been disproven or were like fraudulent. And it turns out like artificial sweeteners are insanely safe. And if you want to compare to like literal sugar and drinks, no matter where it comes from, it's like, I don't know, an infinity more bad for your health. Because nothing wrong with sugar, actually. You can have plenty of regular soda. The problem is like, you just don't get full from soda. Like, can you imagine being like, I'm starved. And your girl's like, here's a glass of Coca-Cola. You're like, thanks, honey. I'm not hungry anymore. It's not even like a valid ad campaign. Right. So you can drink like 800 calories of soda all day long and be like, I'm just relieving my thirst. You switch to diet, you're in an 800 calorie daily deficit. You're going to lose 1.5 pounds for like 4 months straight. You're like, I lost 50 pounds. Like how? Like, I guess I just replaced with diet. But a lot of people don't make it to that because they're like, I prefer natural. I prefer sugar over that crap. And it's totally understandable. But once you look into the evidence base, learn a bit of chemistry. You don't even have to do that. Just look at the studies or just ask ChatGPT about it, ask Gemini, and they're going to be like, yeah, like artificial sweeteners are way, way healthier for you than regular soda. And people still fight it.
And you're not saying don't drink water or replace water with Diet Coke.
I am. I'm a little bit of a global conspiracy against water. When they say data centers using up our water, I'm like, perfect. The plan's coming together. When I see fish like living their lives in water, I hate it. Like nobody's forcing soda down people's throats. So you have like full sugar soda, diet soda, sparkling water, still water. 3 of those are roughly the same for your health. 1 is not. Because 3 of those, like, diet soda is not like the greatest for your teeth because the carbonation, whatever, teeny, teeny, tiny effects. But if people love drinking tasty, sweet beverages and you tell them, hey, do you want regular soda? You love it. They're like, I love it. Or do you want plain water? You're going to lose like 10 million people to like, nah, I'm good, man. I'm just going to drink soda. But if you're like, hey, this diet soda, which after 4 days of drinking it, you're going to think it tastes exactly the same as regular soda, or you're just going to like it so much you're not going to care. Because diet soda, like to people who drink regular soda, there's a bit of a learning curve. Because at first you're like, oh, this isn't that great. The exception there is Coke Zero and Pepsi Max. Because they really fucking solved some, I don't know what they did, man, but Coke Zero, like.
It's pretty damn good.
It's so good. And even if it doesn't taste exactly like Coke, maybe it tastes better. I don't know.
Have you tried the cherry float version? Man, that is.
I got to go.
Whoever formulated that, yeah.
It's brilliant.
Nobel
right?
Prize, yeah.
And so if you really insist on having sweet beverages, the jump from regular soda to diet soda is massive. Massive. Just instantly 50 trillion times better for your health. And
I
body
completely
composition.
agree. Yeah, I totally agree. I try to generally avoid, I mean, just personally values thing. Like I try to avoid artificial sweeteners, but I hadn't had like a real authentic Coke Zero or Diet Coke, whatever, in like a decade until recently. And it's night and day so much better than the alternatives, like the naturally non-nutritive sweetened alternatives.
Oh man.
That like, I feel like life is just better with the odd artificially sweetened soda.
Sure.
It's like not one of the most popular beverages around the globe for no reason.
For no reason.
Right?
Yeah. Coca-Cola tastes really good. It's also interesting. I've tried to have this thought in my head a few times of like, what does Coca-Cola taste like? Somebody could be like, does it taste like chocolate? And you're like, no. Does it taste like wine or beer? Like, no. What does it taste like? You're like, it tastes like Coca-Cola. Does it taste like a fruit? Like, mm-mm. What does it taste like? It tastes like magic. If you don't have artificial sweeteners, you are missing nothing. You're not missing out. You never have to have them. Some people, when they start drinking sweet things, they just makes them crave more sweet things and they're just drinking a bunch of fluids and they get all bloated and that's stupid. So I think if you can drink water, my God, God bless you, drink water. But if you're interested in drinking things that are artificially sweetened or non-nutritively sweetened, which means they don't have calories, you could try the stuff with stevia. How do you say that? Stevia, like Steve, the man who invented it. I'm kidding, maybe. Stevia hits different, bro. Just what you were saying earlier. Like, it's better than water, maybe. But like no offense, Whole Foods is great. The Whole Foods non-nutritive soda selection is like hilarious because they really try to jazz it up. They're like, it's so good, new flavor. And you're like, what the fuck? And then you have like Coke Zero and you're like, engineers worked on this. I know they did. It's like a Tesla or an iPhone. It's just like feature complete. You're like, this is a mature product.
It tastes damn good, and the quote unquote natural versions. I mean, they're like passable, but like the carbonation is also off.
Yeah, it's
like
off.
they're not. They're like pale facsimiles.
Yes,
to the original thing.
Yes, if someone told you it was like a weird medical tasting beverage that you were going to hate, and then you tried it, you'd be like, "This isn't bad. You're delusional." But if someone's like, "This is like a Diet Coke," you'd be like, "You're a liar. I hate you. What's in this? Are you trying to poison me?"
Amen. Well, Dr. Mike Israetel, thanks for coming out, brother.
Dude, it's been awesome.
Yeah.
I love this talk.
Once again, one of the brightest lights in fitness. I love all the content you put out. Just a stand-up human being. And I've got one last question for you. But before we get to that, where can people pick up your exciting new book, and where can they find you on social media and consume your content?
The internet. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. I'm on X, I guess. See you there. And the book, I don't know, link in description, maybe?
Link in description.
Sure. And also it's on Amazon and everywhere else books can be found.
Amen. Well, the last question, I feel like I've asked you this before, but I like, it's been some time since you've been back on the show. What does living a genius life mean to you?
For me, I'm still learning how to read. So the letter B is real tough to spot. Whenever I get it, I feel like a genius. I don't know whether I answered this last time this way or not. Well, we're going to find out on the replay. Don't do obvious dumb shit you know is dumb you're going to regret. So before you get to the genius life, just stop doing real stupid shit. Stop staying up too late. Stop eating junk food all the time. Stop not working out. Stop overstressing about things that are in the grand scheme meaningless. And because you can see someone like be told that someone's like literally a genius, and then you watch them do like regular shit stupidly, and you're like, okay. And they are, but you're like, why don't they know how to like tie their tie? So I'd say a genius life begins with just doing the simple things we all know are a good idea and going from there.
And doing less of the stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Huge pleasure.
Thank you guys for listening. Share this episode with friends and loved ones that you think may benefit from it. Pick up the aesthetic revolution, and I will catch you on the next episode. Peace. Hey, if you liked that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.